Perfect. So for those of you who have just joined, my name is Niv and I will be hosting tonight's masterclass on team management. I have worked in the customer success team for around 2 years now, and during my time, I have helped onboard hundreds of tradies onto our Tradify system. Now, during this masterclass, we will cover how you can add staff with the right roles and access, smart scheduling to stop clashes and any delays, profit tracking to see which job is making you money, instant cost capture with Smart Read, and you'll also be hearing from our guest speaker for tonight, a fellow Tradify user, Dave Cooke from Viva Electrical, who will just talk about his business and how he uses Tradify. Now, during the masterclass, if you do have any questions, please feel free to put it down below in the Q&A section. My colleague Georgia and Hayden are both on this call and they will be answering that tonight. We'll also have some time at the very end to answer any live Q&A. If we don't answer your questions, don't worry, we will reach out tomorrow and get those answered for you. Perfect. So I'm just going to open up my Tradify dashboard. Awesome. Hopefully you can all see my screen. Cool. So let's begin with staff and making sure they are set up properly with the right permission. Tradify makes it super simple to tailor access for each team member, ensuring they only see what is relevant for their role. So if we take a look at staff one, for example, let's say you have a field worker on site. They will only need access to the most basic permission, which is timesheet and job, in order for them to carry out their work. This means they will have access to any jobs that you have assigned to them, be able to put down any pictures, notes into the notes section, record their timesheets, as well as put any materials used for the job. They won't have access to any sensitive data, but let's say you have a more senior staff member, an admin or a manager, then you can toggle on these permissions, for example, invoicing, quoting, PO and bills, reports and finances, and scheduling and dispatch, so they can create a job folder and assign it to various different staff members. So it allows your admin and managers to do their work. Now, Tradify also sends out real-time notification to your employees, both via email and the mobile app. With consistent notification, it keeps everyone on the same page and ensures nothing is missed. So with the mobile app, if you guys haven't downloaded it, either on your phone or your iPad, I do strongly recommend that. Now, I do know the main goal for any business is to be making profit for all their jobs. And that's where the standard pay rate comes in. So this is how much you're paying your employee per hour for their work. And when this is paired up with billing rates. Billing rate is how much you're charging out per hour for your employee's work to your end customer. So for example, let's go to labor. And let's say you're charging out £40 per hour for your employee's work and you're paying your employee £20. We know you're making a profit of £20 per hour for the job. And if I just click on estimated cost here, sometimes you might not have a set pay per hour for your employees. So you can actually leave the standard pay rate in the staff profile blank, and you can actually enter the estimated hourly internal cost in this box here. So Tradify will use this tab in order to track your profit for your labor. So when your staff member begins putting their timesheets in the job folder, you can actually track the internal labor cost. Perfect. Now I'm going to move over to jobs, creating a job folder and scheduling that into your calendar. A well-structured job not only saves time and reduces mistakes, it gives your team clarity on what needs to be done, when, and by who. So I want to start off by talking about the job template and the tasks within the job folder. So I've already pre-created one called Rewire. So if you find yourself on a day-to-day basis doing the same sort of job, you don't have to enter it in manually each time. You can create a job template with the same description, so you can just pull everything from the template onto the job folder. And if I scroll down, you can see our tasks. So tasks are available on our Plus plan, and the task allows you to break down a job into smaller trackable steps. So instead of doing everything at once, you can handle it one stage at a time. And if I scroll down a bit more, there is also a notes section. So if you require for a particular job certain information from your employees on site, they can actually, so you on your side could actually create a section. So let's say before photos. So your employees can go into the before photos and actually upload the pictures on site. So it's actually a quick reminder for your employees so they don't forget anything from their side. Perfect. Now, let me go back to the job folder. So when you go to create a job, instead of creating it from new job, we're going to pull it from new job from template, and we will select our rewire job template, and that will bring out our preloaded information. So I'm just going to put in a customer's name. Now, feel free to edit your pre-written job description specific for this customer. So let's say specific job description isn't relevant, we can remove it. And the same thing applies on the task. If certain task isn't relevant for this customer, we can get rid of it, but we can also add in new tasks here. I'll just do one for test. And with the tasks, it actually helps with teamwork, as tasks can be assigned to different people so everyone knows their part. For example, let's say task 1, we want to assign it to just staff member 2. And let's say the second task, I actually want staff 3 and 4 to be working on it. It also helps with progress tracking, because once a staff member has completed their relevant task, they can actually tick the box so you know what has been completed and what is still left to do. And overall, seeing the progress within a job, it helps boost the team's overall motivation, as they know, their hard work is actually getting some sort of reward as it's slowly coming to the end. Now, let's go ahead and schedule this into your calendar. So we just click on new appointment up here. And let's say I want to schedule it in for tomorrow morning. So I'm just going to click on Friday. And right at the top, I can change the date and time. So let's say we want to start at 11 and we want to work till about 1 o'clock. And let's say you want the job to go on for 2-3 days. You can change the end date here. Now, staff and connection is who is going out to carry out the job. So we would say, let's put staff 2. And notice how staff and connection isn't a mandatory field. So at this stage, if you don't know which staff member is actually going out to carry out the work, you can leave it as unassigned. And once the staff member has been confirmed, you can go back in and add the staff member on. This notes section is purely internal. It's just additional information you want to pass over to the staff member in regards to the work that wasn't included in the job description. For example, an example I always like to use is the customer lives in an apartment and they've given you a gate code. So you can write down the gate code so staff 2 knows what it is. And as you can see, there is a task section right here. So we can actually let staff 2 know this 2-hour visit is purely to do this task. So let's get that booked in. Cool, so that's been added into our calendar. Now let's say there's now a time change or you just want to update the appointment. We can click on the appointment and extend the time here. We can also click on the appointment and drag it across. And if there's another way, we can actually click here and we can drag it down below or make it shorter. Perfect. Tradify also allows you the ability to filter the staff to avoid any confusion on the scheduler and allows you to focus on one specific calendar at a time. So what you can do is you can click on this arrow here, click on staff and connection, and you can actually remove certain staff members. So we can purely just work on staff 2's calendar so you get a clearer picture on staff 2's diary. Let me just toggle this back on. And let's go back to the job folder. Cool, so there's also the notes section right here where our pre-created sections are. So your staff members can go in there, put in their before pictures. Right below here, there is choose staff to notify. So let's say the staff 2 is on site and they've actually uploaded these pictures. They can then update, for example, the admin to let them know they have actually uploaded some pictures. So what will happen is the admin will now receive an email letting them know staff 2 has added all these jobs into job number 10. And you can actually see that on your email. So you don't have to come into Tradify, open up the job folder, go into notes and see what was actually added in. You get an email notification of it. Perfect. And I also want to show you the job status at the very top. So as the job progresses, you can change the status of the job. This is something your field workers, guys on site, can also do. So let's say if they finished everything on site, they can then mark it as to invoice to let you know it has been completed and an invoice is now ready to be sent out to the customer. So what you would have to do is come onto your main dashboard and click on to invoice. And it will just show you those relevant job folders. So you can just focus on that and you don't have to see all your job folders. And I just want to go back in. And with Tradify, it does come with a few preset job status, but you can actually customize it and add in some of your new ones. To do that, just go into settings, jobs, job status. And as we scroll down, you can see I've added one in called site visit and holiday, but for you to add it in, just go to new job status and you can get it added here. With job status, it improves the overall team coordination. Everyone knows what stage a job is in, and it also helps with handoffs between different team members. I want to have a chat to you about the holiday to show you how you can actually schedule in your staff for any annual leave or sick leave. So to do that, we will first need to create a job folder for each staff member. So the customer will be your staff, and the description could be annual leave or sick leave. And then when you want to book them in, let's just say we want to book them in for Sunday, the whole of Sunday, for staff 1. I can put in here holiday as well if I'd like. And that has been booked in. And the job status is available at the top. So with a quick glance, you can see which staff member is on holiday so you don't actually book them in. Perfect. Now I want to move over to one of my favorite features on the system, the to-do list. Think of the to-do list as a personal checklist within the system. So we've all had those moments, remembering something important, only to forget about it minutes later or lose what we wrote down. So this keeps everything in one place so you can quickly jot things down and never lose track of it. So you can actually create a new to-do and you can assign it to yourself or to staff members. And you can also set a due date of when you want it completed by. When you assign it to your staff members, when they log into Tradify, they will see a notification at the very top letting them know a new to-do has been assigned, so they can just go in there and complete it. Once it has been completed, they can just click this and it will move into the done section. So you've got a full record of everything. So if I go back to do and we click on new to do, you can see there are various different colors. So you can actually give each color a meaning. Red meaning is quite urgent, it needs to be completed there and then. Yellow meaning it's something related to suppliers or equipment, and green could be anything in-house related. I actually had a customer who I onboarded, say a couple of months ago, and he mentioned that in the past, what he used to do is write all his task mini to-do list all on sticky notes and put it up on his van dashboard. And by the end of the week, what would happen is half of them would have fallen down, gotten lost somewhere in the van, some would have blown out the windows, some had coffee stains on them, and it actually just got really messy and he lost track of what had actually been completed. So by putting it all in Tradify, he said it's actually also very satisfying to come into the system and get everything ticked off and actually seeing what he has achieved. Perfect. So I want to go back into jobs and show you what your staff will see on site. When you've assigned them a job and they go into the job folder, they will have access to time. So time is timesheets in order for them to clock in and clock out and record how long they were on the job for. Now, there are two options on how staff can enter their timesheets in. One is the timer up here. So they simply click on the timer, select the billing rate related to that job. So with billing rates, you can also set default billing rates to your staff, ensuring that each person's specific rate is automatically applied. This helps prevent if someone forgets to update it manually, a default one can already be set up in their staff profile in settings. And you can also assign a task. So as I showed you earlier, if you plan on taking advantage of tasks and plan to split your jobs up, Tradify actually lets you assign your timesheet to tasks. So you can see how long your guys are spending doing specific part of a job. and they simply click start. And once the work has been completed, they can click stop. It's also super simple on the mobile app. They just open up a job folder and there'll be a tab that says start timer, a big blue tab, and they literally click the start timer. And I know what you guys are thinking. My guys, they're just not going to remember to start and stop a timer. No stress. There is a second option, a manual entry. So after they've completed the work, they can go into new timesheet entry, change the time. So let's say they were on site for 9 to 5. Put the relevant task, the billing rate, some notes on what was actually completed on site. And click OK. And right here at the bottom, you can see how much profit you're just making on labor for job 65. Perfect. Now I'm going to go into the cost section. So cost is the materials you are using on site for this particular job. Now there are 3 options for you to actually put your materials into the system. One is new price list item. So if the material is already saved in settings in price list, you can simply click on it and pull it from the system. The second option is new miscellaneous cost. So you can actually manually write out what material was used. The third option, which is the option I recommend, is bills. So bills is available on our Plus plan, and bill is simply your supplier invoice. So let's say you go into Screwfix or B&Q and you get a paper receipt from them. All you would have to do is take a picture of that receipt and upload it into the system. And if you've given permission to your guys on site, they can also take that picture of the receipt and get it uploaded onto the system. Or if your supplier has just emailed you a PDF copy of the invoice, you just download it onto your computer and get it uploaded. I am just going to upload it for you now, so just bear with me for 2 seconds. Cool. So the system is using AI at the moment to read the invoice that I just uploaded. So just give it a second and it should pull out those line items for us. Perfect. So the 3 materials that I've just uploaded has been pulled across. If you don't want to track total discrepancy, we can get rid of that. So I know when I went to Screwfix, I spent £138.23. And if I scroll down, just click on files, I can show you the receipt I just uploaded, just a receipt from Screwfix. Perfect. So as soon as you're happy with it, you just hit the approve button here at the bottom, and it will give me a pop-up asking, do I want to pull these materials into my cost section? And if so, what sort of markup I would like to apply. So the markup is if you charge up on your invoices, you can just put in, let's say, a 20% markup. However, if you don't do charge up work and you just send out an invoice based on what you quoted your customer, you can leave it as 0, so you can just track your internal expenditure of materials. So we do copy bill. And if I go back to the job, if I go to cost, we can see those 3 materials have been pulled across. Now, another cool thing is you can actually put tasks related to materials. So if I go into this task here, sorry, this material here, I can link it to this specific task. So I know this material was used to do this part of the job. Do it for all 3. Perfect. Now let's go ahead and create an invoice. So we just click on the invoice tab, new invoice. Now, again, if you work from a quote, you can just pull everything from your original quote. But if you do charge up work, we can do time and materials from job. One thing I'd like to show you is you can actually create an invoice based on specific tasks. So if you have any time or materials in the cost tab linked to a specific task, it will pull those time and those materials. But for this example, we're just going to pull everything across. So the 2 times that I put in and the 3 materials have been pulled across. So we actually did carry out a masterclass on invoicing, and that video is available on our YouTube channel. So do check it out if you just want to go into a bit more depth and learn a bit more tips and tricks on invoicing. Perfect. Now, one of the last features I would like to show you is the job service report, which is also on our Plus plan. So a job service report essentially captures everything from the job folder into a report for you to send out to your customer. So it's pulled out the job description, all my tasks, all my timesheets, materials, and notes. And if there is specific stuff you don't want to show your customer, no problem. We can just click on X to get rid of it. Or if there's a certain section, for example, labor, we can toggle it off, toggle it on. And there's also the eye icon at the top, so we can hide columns as well. If I hit preview, I can show you how it would look. Give it a second. Cool. This is how a job service report would look. Perfect. And you can actually send this across along with your invoice to your customer. How you would do that when you go to send out a invoice, we click on email to customer, and there is attached file, and you just add the job service report and you will email this to your customer, and this will just be a PDF attachment along with the invoice. Perfect. Now, the last thing to do would be to actually close off the job folder. So after you have received the final payment from your customer, we just go to the top, mark it as complete, and that just puts the job folder into the archive status. Perfect. So that wraps up the first part of the masterclass. I'd like to bring on our guest speaker, Dave Cooke from Viva Electrical, who is going to introduce himself and speak a bit more about his business. If you have any questions for Dave, please do put it in the Q&A section below. Hi, Dave.
Hey, how are we doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. Hello, everyone. My name's Dave. So I run a little company, and yeah, I've been using Tradify since I set up. So yeah, we're just going to go through some questions and hopefully we can answer any that you guys have as well.
Perfect. Yeah, so as a business owner, you're across everything from quoting to scheduling. So how has Tradify changed the way you manage those day-to-day responsibilities?
So when I set up Viva Electrical, I used Tradify from day one because it was something I was looking across loads of different platforms that you could use, but Tradify for me simplified everything, and it makes some really easy steps of booking in jobs, raising jobs, communicating with staff through the actual platform. So I can be at home on a computer using it, or I can be on site on my phone, and I can do everything on my phone that I can also do at home. So it makes it such a good tool to be able to use, and it's really accessible and easy. So yeah.
Yeah, amazing. So you said you used Tradify from day one. How did you find actually implementing it into the business and actually, getting your staff members onboarded onto the system?
Yeah, like in the business side, phenomenal. It links with I use Xero as an accounting software, so it links with Xero. It links with which also links with my bank. So, for instance, as an example, when I raise an invoice on Tradify, Xero automatically knows that I've raised an invoice, and it will chase it all for me if someone hasn't paid on time. And then when the money does come through, my bank knows the money's there, Xero knows the money's there, and Tradify knows the money's there. So I don't have to do any chasing. I just tick one little box once the money comes through to notify me that it's there. And yeah, so it just streamlines absolutely everything for me. Staff wise, I would say some are more technical than others, and getting the older staff to use phones and stuff is always a bit trickier, but it's such a simple platform, and I try and make it as easy as I can for them. I don't expect a lot apart from filling out timesheets and yeah, adding notes on jobs where we need to go back or if there's been an issue on the way. So yeah.
And from our previous conversation, you did mention that you run a mix of quoted work and charge up jobs. How do you use Tradify to handle both, and what's working well for your team?
So quoted jobs is simple. So obviously quote through Tradify, customer goes ahead with it. The price stays as it is as long as the job stays as it is. So nice and simple. As you just shown on the billing side of it, all of our invoices from wholesalers go under that job number. So when you raise a job number exists. So everything that's booked out for that job goes under that job number. And then the engineers on that job will fill in a timesheet if they're there 1 day, 2 hours, or a week. And then at the end of it, I can then go, right, I priced it at this much. We've made this amount of money, or whatever it is, or we can see how the job's done, see if we've mainly quoted it right, or if we've overrun, or whatever's happened. So then, therefore, we can look in that job and look if there was any issues, why we overrun, or if we did well on it. For charge up jobs, again, it's really easy because we can just go off of the engineer's timesheet. So we can see how many hours they were at the job for. And materials, again, they've been booked out, so I can see all the materials that have been booked out for that job and charge accordingly.
Amazing. And how did your team find, using the timer or manually entering their time into the timesheet?
Timer, I'm not gonna lie, they just don't like it. The amount of times, and I get it because I don't either. You get on site and the last thing you think is, I need to get my phone out and press a button. So we always go for, at the end of the job, I try and get them to complete a timesheet before they leave.
Yeah.
Because it just gets them in the mindset of, right, before I leave this job and go on to the next one, or go home, it just finishes it up nicely and it's done and dusted. And then obviously for them at the end of the week, we want to see a full timesheet for the whole week. So yeah, if they haven't, basically I have a rule: by the following Monday, we need to make sure all the timesheets are completed. If not, they get chased. So yeah.
Perfect. And I'll just show the guys on where they can get a overview of their timesheets for the week. So you just come into timesheets and it will show you for the whole week. And to basically get a report of that, you just go to options and you can export it to a Excel file, and it will have basically a breakdown of all your staff members, all the times they've completed, and any tasks actually set against that. Okay. So Dave, you started using certificates more recently. Can you share what prompted that and how it's helping your business?
Yeah, so certificate is something that you guys have been working on, and you shouted out that yeah, you've added change to it. And the one that hooked me was because I used it a few times before, but you couldn't personalize it, and you can now put your logo on it. It looks more professional, and that's what we're aiming for as a company. So yeah, we've been trying a few, and yeah, they're easy to use. Again, they're simple. It's not too different from the product that we're already using. But the fact is, it's included in Tradify, and if I can move everything over to that, it's going to save me money, because it's already included in what we're paying. So yeah, it's definitely something that we're looking for. And again, the guys can access it on their phones on site. They've got tablets as well, so yeah, it makes it nice and simple. I can access that certificate from the office. So yeah, it's good continuity, really.
Amazing. And yeah, the certificates are available in the job folder. So it will literally pull across the customer's details and like the job details as well. So it saves you time manually entering it all in. Perfect. So many people rely on deposits to manage cash flow. How do you handle deposits and customer payments with Tradify, and what impact has it had?
So deposits, it varies with slightly different customers, but if it's a direct customer to us, we put in the quotation at the bottom of a quotation. You can put in terms.
Yeah.
So we are, to be honest, always updating our terms in quotes because we're learning as a company. But in that term, as a quote, we ask for a 30 or 20% deposit. So they will then accept the quotation if they want to go ahead with us. They would have read the terms anyway. So we then will, as soon as they've accepted it, we'll then raise an invoice for that percentage from the quote, which is again really easy because you can just raise the invoice. You can pull the quotation into that invoice and then select the percentage that you want to actually charge. So you can charge the full amount, you can charge 60%, 50%, whatever you want. So it's all customized for you. So you can put that percentage in, send it off to the customer, and then we always say we won't book any of the work in or give you a date of work until we've received that money. And then once we receive that money, we will then book in their work straight away, and we order any materials or anything that's needed. So for us as a business, cash flow is so key, and we can eat through a lot of money really quickly buying materials and paying things off. So yeah, getting people to commit
Mhm.
and yeah, commit by paying a deposit is quite key, I think. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Amazing. And do you think it's quite easy in Tradify to basically keep track of the multiple invoices that you have sent out to your customers?
Yeah, again, everything's under that job. I don't know if you have an example, but under a job, you can go into invoicing,
Uh,
and then it will show you exactly what you've raised. So the first invoice on a job for us will be deposit.
yeah.
You can go into that invoice and then see how much you charge for it. If there's any extras, you can set that up as a separate invoice. So you just click on new invoice, and then label out your extras and what the cost is for that. So yeah, it's really, really easy to track. Having everything under one individual job number is phenomenal. And yeah, if there's any issues on anything on the job, you can go back, you can look through it. So yeah, it's good.
Amazing. And the last question is, you've shown interest in Smart Read and the new AI tools. What's on your wish list for the future? Any features you'd love to see, or any problems that you want to be solved?
It's so funny because you even watching what you were talking from the start, I've picked up things that I haven't been doing that I could be doing. So it's interesting. But I think the whole AI thing's quite cool. It's definitely helping us, like raising invoices and being able to use AI to word it. I'm not the best with computers or writing fancy words. So being able to have something that can just prompt you and make you, help you look more professional is good. Um, I see it that it ends up becoming a really important part of the business. It becomes your personal assistant almost. So anything that is mundane and isn't needed for me to do that I can get Tradify to do and it's going to speed it up, great. If I can talk to Tradify and give it a list of things that I want it to do, and it just does it and lets me know when it's done, great. It's less time for me sitting in front of a computer, and more time I can be out and about, seeing the guys working or getting on with some work myself. So yeah.
Maybe that's quite interesting, being able to talk to try to Tradify it and giving it a few tasks to complete. Never heard of
Yeah.
that.
Mm.
Amazing. So Georgia and Hayden, do we have any questions for Dave that has come through?
Yeah, we do indeed. So the first question is, are you on site often, and how do you find the time to do both, if so?
Yeah, so I'm very much on site. I mean, I'm a small business, so I've got four guys that work for me. I'm still very much on the tools, so pretty much day to day, I'll be doing something on the tools. Every now and again, I'll take a full day out just to get through quotations or do this that. So yeah, I'm on the tools a lot. I try and get my admin as such done during the day when invoices can be raised. Again, it's so quick and easy because I can go on my phone. Like today, as an example, I had Alan who finished two jobs by lunchtime. And as soon as they were done, he phoned me to give me a little update. I could go straight on and raise invoices. And it took, 30 seconds to raise the invoices done. And yeah, it's such a good tool that I can do that and not have to go back to the office and sit down and figure it all out. It's just there in front of me. It's another reason why the certification actually might be quite a good thing, because that's something that at the moment I still have to come back to the office. So if a job needs a certification, then I've got to come back to connect it and then send it through with the invoice. So yeah, again, that could be another reason why moving to Tradify certification fully would be a really good thing.
Thanks, Dave. We've got another question. Do you have Xero linked throughout? We are currently using both and have not fully integrated yet. Do you quote directly from Xero or Tradify? And then off the back of that, are you raising your invoices through Xero first or through Tradify first?
So I use Tradify as my main brains of the business. So that is linked fully with my Xero, but I don't raise invoices or anything on Xero. It's all just done on Tradify, and then that fires through to my Xero. So then when I want to go into my accounting and see what's going on, everything is there, and every invoice that I've ever raised is in Xero, but I use Tradify for all of it.
Cool, thank you. And then the next one that came through, it was asking, how do you track when your staff are traveling to and from a job, and if you do so?
Yeah, I'll be honest, that's not something that we do at the moment, and it's not to say that that's right. So I don't know if you guys have got any ideas how we would do that, but we have jobs that start at a time, and we try to aim to get to them jobs on time, but we all know how it is. So yeah, tracking in between jobs, it's a really good question. It's not something that I do, but that's not to say there isn't an answer for that. Yeah.
Cool, thank you. There's a couple more. So the next one is, I don't know if you were able to, but show an example of how you would process and schedule a job from start to finish. Would help to see how quick or straightforward the process can be.
So I'm sure we can do that. But I don't know if I chat and you guys raise one. So if you go onto jobs, you can raise a new job. So say it's a brand new client, you go onto customers, you can type in the customer's name. You either have it already in the system, or you can raise a new customer. So if we just pick one, again, you've got site next to customer. So you might have the customer that's a landlord and they've got 10 different houses. So again, you can click on site and go, this is for Fitzmaurice Mews. So again, you can add the sites in if you've never been to that one before. You can then add the job address as well if it isn't there, if you haven't added it already. Yeah, there you go. There's information on the customer, email address, phone number, all of it. And then write a description. So say we're doing a test and report on this property. So you can write a description which will, when you book the job in, the engineer who's going to do that will see. So in the description, you can again write whatever you would normally write, but attending to complete a full EICR report. There we go. And then we can go on the top right, you've got new appointment. So clicking on that, again, they might have given you a time to actually attend, or you can liaise, but say Friday the 10th at 12 o'clock, you can then click that time. As we saw earlier, you can start it at whatever time you want, and then the time that you would allow for that EICR, depending how big the property is. So you can extend that and then add your staff member who is going to do that job. Write any notes. So again, if there's a code to get into the door, if there's a key, lock, or anything like that, you can add that into notes for the engineer to see. And then there you go. On the 10th, job's raised. You can go back into that job at any point. You can add in more information into it at any point. The engineer. So as soon as you've clicked that on and added that engineer, the engineer, depending how you've got it in your settings, but they will get a alert on their phone or an email, so they can see that they've had a job added. So even if it's on the same day and it's in the afternoon, they will get an alert going, look, job's been added to your diary, and they'll probably phone you and be like, what are you doing adding another job to my day? But yeah, that's it. Hopefully that answers your question.
We've had another one come through as well. How do you find the layout of the certificates on Tradify compared to others?
So we have only used the pat testing one, if I'm totally honest, so far. So layout of that's really good. I mean, it was they've been working on it. So when we first started one, you can only put 10 items, and I emailed through again. This is another good thing of Tradify. They're willing to listen. Not everyone's got amazing ideas, but they're willing to listen and make changes. So I emailed through ages ago just saying, look, can you do it so we can have more than 10 items on one cert? So now it's endless. So yeah, the pat system one for me is really simple, easy to use. The others, we're looking at them. We haven't moved over yet, so it's something we need to do. I think certifications are really, I don't know, really interesting one. And there's so many that are out there that we've tried and it hasn't worked. We're using EasyCert at the moment, which I really like. But again, EasyCert's quite far behind on what other people are doing at the moment. So yeah, it's something we need to do. I just need to find the time to do it.
Thank you. We've had something come through saying that we roughly have the same size business as you, using the tasks in the job section so your employees know what is required on each job. If so, what is your workaround since you can only add one task per appointment?
So it depends how you're using it. So quite often I won't be sending two engineers to one job. So as we raise that job, you've got the job description. So someone's going tomorrow to finish up some outdoor lighting. So they've got the spike lights that needs to go and pick up from a wholesaler, and they're going to finish installing the spotlights in someone's front garden. So in that description, all I've done is write all their tasks that they need to complete to get that job completed under the description, which the engineers can see. And then so rather than using a task, if you can only add one task onto it, you can just write the full amount of work that is needed into the description. Also, when you raise a job from a quotation, it copies that quotation description over to the job. So all of everything that you've put, if you want to tweak it a little bit so it's not as formal, but you can just list it for the engineers, then all that information is already there, pulled over from the quotation in the job description. So yeah.
Cool. Thanks, Dave. We've had just a couple more. There is one. How do you find the layout of the certificates on Tradify compared to others?
I think we've answered that one a little bit, but yeah, again, I need to do more on the certification to fully give you an honest answer on it. I think the layout is a lot better than it used to be. But yeah, for all the certificates, I haven't done every single certificate on it. So for what I've seen and the ones that we've done, it's simple, it's easy to use. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that, Dave. I don't think there are any other questions that have come through for you. Yeah, so thank you so much for joining us this evening. Perfect. So I'm just going to go back to Tradify. If you do have any questions in regards to the system, do just put it down below and I'll get those answered for you. So I've got one here from Helen. How do you track when you're traveling to and from a job? So when you are traveling, what you can do is just make sure billing rate is set up, and you can actually have one set up for travel. Or you can also just carry on working with the labor, and you start and stop the stopwatch when you actually are traveling to that destination. So you just work within the job folder, go into time, and you can literally start the timer and select either the travel one or the labor. So got another one asking, how can I set up a default billing rate for my team? So that is in staff member, staff one. And right here underneath default billing rate, you can select which billing rate you would like to set for that particular staff member. Perfect. Amazing. So thank you for joining today's masterclass on team management. I hope you learned something useful that you can try with your team. We'll be sending you a recording of this session so you can rewatch what we covered today, along with a few helpful resources to support your learning. If any questions weren't answered, we will be reaching out to you tomorrow. So yeah, once again, thank you so much for joining tonight, and I hope you guys all have a lovely evening.